Good afternoon, grade 9. I have attendance again, MD and Margie. Good afternoon, everyone. Let's continue with uh, the topic. We are done with the introductory activity. So let's proceed to the lesson proper. Climate. Let me share my screen. Can you see my shared screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Factors affecting climate. Okay. Climate is the average weather condition in an area over a long period of time. Various climate in Earth are defined by the amount of energy it receives from the sun, which is based on the angle of location. Remember that Earth is tilted, right? And the Earth's exact um, shape is oblate spheroid. So there is the distribution of light and distribution of heat and the amount of energy is not equal to the different parts of the globe or the earth, okay, which is based on the angle and location at which sunlight strikes earth. Each one is affected by several factors including latitude, global wind circulation, bodies of water, topography or topographia, altitude, and of course vegetation. Okay, let's tackle first latitude. Latitude is the distance north or south of Earth's equator. Okay, north and south. Okay, that's the latitude. Areas near the equator receive high amount of solar radiation and temperature. Earth's shape and angle primarily cause the difference in the amounts of heat absorbed by the region or by a region. Such difference is also affected by the distance of the region from the equator or latitude. A latitude is from east to west, north to south. Okay, latitude is from north to south. Okay, the temperature at the regions near the equator is higher than the temperature near the poles. Remember that your polar regions receive less amount of light. Okay, sure, why less? Remember again, Earth is tilted. Okay, and the shape is oblate spheroid. So meaning to say that the areas in the lower and the upper part of the globe or the Earth receives less light, less amount of solar radiation and temperature. Okay, there are three climatic zones on Earth based on latitude. With respect to latitude, namely the tropical, polar, and temperature or temperate zones. Okay, let's tackle first tropical zone. Do you have any questions so far? We're still in the latitude
No, sir.
from north to
No,
south.
sir.
All right. Or tropical zone or the latitude zone or low latitude zone extend from 23.3 degrees north latitude, that's the Tropic of Cancer, to 23.5 degrees south latitude, that's the Tropic of Capricorn. In such zones, sunlight strikes Earth vertically. Dry and wet seasons, due to high temperature, rain and humidity are experienced by areas in the zones or in the zone. Our country, Philippines, lies in a tropical zone. Okay, we are in the Tropic of Cancer. It experiences high temperature, high humidity, and abundant of rainfall all over the year. Okay, so if this is the tropical zone, the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, Earth is actually here. Okay, in the Tropic of Cancer, and we receive actually vertical lights, which gives us a very humid temperature and abundant of rains, just like what we are experiencing now. But remember that these storms and typhoons will depend upon the movement of what? Movement of? air or the pressure. The polar region or polar zones, okay, are located at the polar or poles from 66.5 degrees north and south latitude. Less sunlight strikes on Earth's surface at a very flat angle. This is really flat. Cold weather patterns are very little precipitation are experienced in such zones. Remember again that the primary source, not the ultimate, the primary source of heat is actually in the sun. But if the sun didn't actually strike the area, tendency is it is really cold. Okay. These include the polar ice caps, islands of the northern Arctic, okay, ocean, and the southern Antarctic. Okay. If if you're going to look at the you're going to look at the overall look of Earth, the polar regions or polar zones are actually in the north and the south. Okay, so less light actually penetrates, right? But later on, let's discuss about what is really happening in the polar regions. Okay, temperate zones are between the tropics and the polar regions from about 23.5 degrees and 66.5 degrees north and south latitudes. They actually receive an amount of sunlight between the tropics and the polar zone. Okay? Weather in those zones are generally changes in seasons, namely winter, summer, spring, and autumn. Okay? Winter has a cold temperature. Summer has a hot temperatures, and spring and autumn has a mild temperatures. This is also the reason why um, some of the migrating birds actually transfer to areas which is more there is more heat. Like for example, your pigeons and your doves actually these are migrating birds. Okay, they usually transfer during winter. Why? It's really cold in the area and they cannot actually survive in the cold area. So they need to migrate to different places, which is more hotter places, in order for them to survive and for to look for food. Remember that during winter, they experience starvation simply because the fish and the other creatures or the food that they actually need is actually not present during that time because of the season. Okay, so usually they migrate to different places. Okay, do you have any questions so far? Margie and MD, are you still with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Global wind circulation. Okay, heat and moisture distributed by global winds affects climate, correct? The uneven heating of Earth's surface causes heat exchange. Remember, uneven heat because again the Earth is tilted and the Earth is oblate spheroid. Sure, why the Earth is oblate spheroid? This is because of the gravitational pull. Okay? The uneven heating of the Earth's surface causes heat exchange between cold and warm regions. The exchange is facilitated by the movement of air and moisture from the bodies of water like oceans. Okay. Warm air is constantly moving toward the poles, while cold air moves towards the equator. Moreover, air rises at a low pressure areas and sinks at the high pressure area. This temperature and pressure driven movements of air give rise to three circulations or circulation systems, namely the tropical or Hadley cell, the temperate or Ferrel cell, and the polar cell. Each of these circulation system aids the distribution of heat all throughout the Earth's surface. Again, um, the heat which actually contains an Earth is not stagnant. It is also moving. Okay, the movement of warm air towards the poles and the cold air towards the equator. Okay, bodies of water. The temperature of large bodies of water, such as lakes, seas, and ocean, affects the temperature of air above them. Yes, the temperature of water in lakes, seas, and ocean influences changes in temperature of air above them. Bodies of water cool down and heat up slowly compared to the land masses. Oceanic currents from transport heat from the equator towards the poles to ensure balance in global temperatures. Warm air is transported from low latitude areas to high latitude areas, while cold air is transferred from high latitude areas to low latitude areas. Okay, why? Why do you think so? That the hot air is transported or the warm air is transported from low latitude to high, and the cold air is transported from high latitude to low. Why do you think so? Why? Margie and MD?
The answer.
Yeah, again, warm air is transported from low latitude to high, okay? And cold air transported or transferred from high latitude to low. Why do you think so?
The temperature, sir.
Yes. Why do you think so that these um airs transported, like for example, warm is transported to uh high, and cold is transported to low latitude areas. Why do you think so?
Because of the oceanic currents and the wind.
Yes, because of the ocean currents and the wind. What else? Any other
What was the question, sir?
Why is warm air is transported from low latitude to high, and why is cold air is transported from high latitude to low? Why do you think so? Margin MD? Why do you think so?
The pressure, air pressure.
Air pressure? It could be. What else? What else? Why do you think so?
That's all, sir.
Okay. Remember that warm air is less denser than cold air. So mas bugat si cold air. Okay? That is why cold usually goes down. Kung mubugnaw, mo subside. Okay? Kung mainit, mo evaporate. Okay? That is why. That's the reason why. Okay? The movement of this actually creates an impact to climate, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's continue. Okay? So this is now the movement of air, the cold air and the warm air. Okay? Topography. Topography affects the amount of precipitation in a region, with the windward side of mountain has a wet and cold climate, while the leeward side has a dry and warm climate. Topographic features, specifically mountain ranges, influence the amount of precipitation in the region. Yes. Why do you think so? Air coming from the windward side of the mountain is moisty or moist. As it rises up to the mountain's slope, it cools and condenses, forming clouds and later precipitation. Okay. If you're going to look at the formation of typhoons, usually typhoons builds up its power in the ocean. Okay? While ka nag-ocean in yung typhoon, it will actually gain more power and more water. Okay? And more air pressure. But when it will pass through a mountainside, it will loosen its power. Why? Because the source of energy, the water and the evaporation there is lesser compared to the area in the ocean, which contains more water. That's the reason. So again, air coming from the windward side of the mountain is moisty or moist. As it rises up the mountain slope, it cools down and condenses, forming clouds and later precipitation. So to give you an idea about leeward, are you familiar with leeward and windward?
No, sir.
Okay, I have illustration later. Some warm air continues to rise up and descends to leeward side. On this side, high pressure and high temperature cause evaporation to occur. Once air reaches the side of the mountain,
Sir,
yes,
how about fog, sir?
yes, fog is the condition wherein um there are some suspended water vapor in the atmosphere in the environment. That's the fog. Okay, because it's too cold and tendency is the condensation is highly observable there. It condenses, water condenses there. That's one good
So,
example.
so it's only cold, sir. The fog.
Yes, of course. It's really
There's
cold.
no hot fog.
It's moist. If it is hot, fog is different. Okay. Moist is a composition of if it is the product of evaporation and converting now water into water vapor. Okay. Let's move forward. Any other question? MD and Margie?
No, sir.
Okay. Again, on this side, high pressure, in the leeward side, high pressure and high temperature cause evaporation to occur. So there is again the process of what? Water cycle happening. Once air reaches the side of the mountain, moisture in air is lost. A condition called rain shadow is created in the dry area of mountains leeward side. So the illustration will give you an idea. This is the windward side. Okay. Again, the prevailing wind goes up the cold and it will go down to the leeward side and it will create rain shadow. Okay. So the cycle repeats again and again. This is water cycle. If you're going to look at it, you can see water cycle there. Condensation here, and because of the heat here and the pressure, it will actually perform evaporation again, and the cycle repeats again and again. Do you have any questions so far?
No, sir.
Okay.
Not really, sir.
Ah,
None so far.
okay. Let's continue with the discussion by next meeting. And I want you to um to have a research or to study in advance the next topic, that is altitude and vegetation. Okay. What are the
Okay,
effects
sir.
of this altitude and the effects in the vegetation? Okay. Some of the scientists, they tend to look at first the vegetation to identify the climate. Why do you think so? Why these scientists um try to check first vegetation before checking on its climatic condition, right? Question so far with with the topic discussed,
No,
Margie.
sir.
Okay. I think that's all for today, class. Let's continue the discussion with the climate through altitude and vegetation by next meeting. I think that will for today, class. Have a nice day, grade 9. Goodbye.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Goodbye.